So while Leela has been off working in the Caribbean, I got her a little bit of late birthday present and a surprise that I'm gonna work on and hopefully get it going before she gets here. It's a 1978 Honda CB400. It's in amazing condition. Previous owner replaced the gas tank, cleaned her all up, did a bunch of work. And I actually got her for a steal because she's been sitting for about 3 years, and she needs some work. She's got new tires, but the carbs are all gummed up because he left gas in it. You can see there's no inline filter on the fuel line, so maybe some paint chips or something blocking the jets there. But also the rear brake light was cracked, so I need to replace that and the license plate holder. And my biggest problem right now is when I went to roll it off of the truck here, you can see I was all set up, ready to go. And I realized I had the front brake didn't work. And I didn't really want to try and stop 400 pounds rolling down this ramp without a front brake. So I actually took apart, tried to refill the master cylinder, which is completely empty, took it apart, and now I'm gonna try and work on it and fix it up. So this is the little bike work stand I built. You can see the bike came with a climber manual, which is pretty nice. A big fairing. There's some other stuff in here. Sissy bar, luggage rack, battery tender, a bunch of spare parts. So I started taking apart this master cylinder here. And first I soaked it with some PB Blaster. And it still wouldn't go through. And some brake cleaner still wouldn't go through. So I started taking it apart. And I don't know if you can see here, but the boot is pretty torn up, so it looks like I'm gonna have to order a rebuild kit. It actually came with a second one, but this one's completely frozen. It doesn't move at all, so that one's actually a lot worse. So yeah, I'm gonna get a rebuild kit, get this up and running so I get the bike off of the truck. Alright, I was able to rebuild this master brake cylinder, so now I can hopefully get the bike off the truck. Alright, so as you can see, I got the bike off the truck. The brakes, wasn't able to rebuild them with the current setup, so I got a new part coming to rebuild this master cylinder. Should be here tomorrow. Right now, I'm working on a stuck throttle. So when you turn this, should be easy, but it's really tough, and then it doesn't return, so I'm gonna figure that out. Alright, here's a tricky one. I'm rebuilding this master cylinder. You need to get this rubber cup in there, but you can see there's a little bit of a lip there, so I can't really, it's gotta be facing down, so I can't really just slide it in. So I'm gonna use this socket here with a smaller socket inside. This one's the size of the outer lip, this one's the size of the inner one. I'll shove the cup in there, upside down, and then I can push it down with the screwdriver. Basically like that, shoving it into the master cylinder. Alright, so my master cylinder is back together and on. As you can see, it hasn't been bled yet, but I don't quite have time to bleed it because I got some sourdough in the oven, so that'll have to wait for tomorrow. Alright, time to bleed the brakes. Well, fill and bleed the brakes, but this is I hate bleeding brakes on motorcycles. The master cylinder is so small that you just have to pump it forever. So this is a new method for me. A giant syringe full of brake fluid that I'm actually gonna pump in from the bottom, forcing the air out of the top and filling it with new fluid. Ladies and gentlemen, we have brakes. Exciting. On to the next thing. Get this engine running. Alright, today's project is going to be getting a tail light and a license plate holder on here. As you can see, the one that I got that came with the bike has a hole where the screw went through it, and judging by the fact that it came with 3 of these things and all of them have holes in the back, I think it's a common problem, so I'm going to have to figure out something to fix it. Right, we got a brake light going. I had to actually bolt through. Not the prettiest, but it'll work. And then let's turn it on. So you can see I got light, And then it even lights up when I press the brakes. Right. All right. So we're at the crucial part here. Got the carbs out. Everyone's least favorite job. And I couldn't get her to start, so I took these apart. And this is got a little carb cleaner, but you got this tube here. The other one, this is the other one that was on the bike. Tube is missing, and the hole has been plugged with some sort of putty. This other float bowl came in the spare parts, but of course it's missing the down tube as well. So gotta order a part, put these back together. Never trust previous owner when they say it's running great. Which is a problem, because what happens is if the fuel actually overflows, the engine's gonna hydrolock. And that means the fuel will overflow into the piston, and the piston can't compress that liquid fuel. It can only compress the gas, and so what happens is the engine will stop running. So I was able to find a brass tube at a hobby store. This is like the kind that sells model trains and, you know, one of those hobby places. And it's actually a pretty close fit into this bowl here. But I can't get it to go all the way down, so what I'm actually gonna do is press fit it. So what I'm gonna do here is take off this gasket, clean this up so it's just raw aluminum, put this in the oven, put this in the freezer to expand and contract respectively, and then hopefully I can slide this straight in, and then as this cools down and this heats up, they'll come together and it'll be stuck in there, creating a seal. And then what I'll do is I'll cut this down to the right length, and in the end, hopefully, it will look just like this one. I'll get a new gasket on, and I'll rebuild these carbs here, and then hopefully the bike starts. All right. Got cold brass pipe. We got hot aluminum. Don't worry, aluminum doesn't melt till 1220 degrees, so you can really crank it up in there. All right, so the tube went in. As you can see, it's holding. The aluminum's still very hot, but then once it cools down, I'm gonna let it cool overnight because it's getting late. But then I'm gonna do a water test, and if it doesn't hold, I'll put some epoxy on it. All right, we are looking good. I got the drain screw back in there. And what I'm checking really is the seal between the pipe, the brass pipe, and the aluminum bowl here. And if it was leaking, water would be coming out the bottom. I'm gonna let it sit overnight with a cup under it just to see if I can get any water, but I don't think we need any epoxy. I think we're actually good there. Oh, seemed to pass the water test. No water overnight. I'm trying to show you, that's the seam there. Hard to see with the reflection, but seems to be holding. All right, so we are done, I think. Here is the original one that was working, and here's the new one. You can see the hole is a little bit wider for the drain, but shouldn't really be a problem. I mean, if anything, it's just gonna drain a little bit faster. Solid in there. They appear to be, it's hard to say, but about the same height. And I got a new gasket coming in the mail soon, and then I'll rebuild these guys. All right, rebuilt the carbs. Have a good feeling about this. Choke. so Leela comes home today and the bike looks kind of a mess. So now it's time to clean it up and make it look nice. So it'll be a good surprise. All right, we got a second mechanic in the shop today. Let's check out what's going on. The bike is up and running, as you can hear. And the one thing we got going on though is we got some fuel leaking out of one of the carburetor overflows. So I think we got a stuck float. We're gonna take the carbs back apart and see if we can fix that. But otherwise, then after that, we should be ready for a test ride. All right, we got the carbs all taken apart. We had a piece of gunk stuck in the float, and the float was gummed up, so I put in a brand new float. Leela is reattaching the choke and the throttle cable, and we're getting these carbs back in the bike. All right, so the bike was running, but not well. It would die on the top end, so I took the carburetors back out. This one, the slides were turning just fine. This one wasn't. Now it's moving freely once I take this little cap off. So I think the cap that goes right on top of there is a little too wide, or it's swelled up, and it's causing it to drag in that inner cylinder. So I'm gonna just go ahead and sand this down and get it a little smaller. All right, let's see if we can get both floats to pass the test. That one's good. All right, we're returning, so those are good. So I figured I'd turn them over and just check the jets, and I think I actually found my problem, because when I opened it up, the secondary jet, which is supposed to be there, was just sitting inside. So gotta reinstall that and see what happens. All right, so today's project is to replace this crappy vinyl, I think it's vacuum line that came with the bike, with some real fuel line, so I can stop any leaks and make sure it's safe. All right, this right here is why you run filters. I don't know if you can see all that little crap in there, but that could easily plug jets and make you have to rebuild your carbs. All right, so new fuel line's on. Take the bike out for a spin, and I'm only really getting full power when it's choked. And of course, the choke will vibrate down and then I lose power. So I think my best guess right now is that I got an idle jet clogged, or one of the jets is clogged, so it's not getting full power. So carb's gotta come back out. So I did find a small clog behind one of the jets. They're all cleaned out with carb cleaner and blown out with air. Here's where I'm at with the bike. I got the carbs all back in and it doesn't want to start. It's got spark, it's got gas, it's got air, which is everything it needs. So what I'm thinking is that one of the idle ports is blocked. I got the choke fully out, it's turned on, gas is on. So what I'm gonna do is take the carbs back out again, and I think I'm gonna put back in the old idle jet needles. These guys, they seem to be a little bit smaller than the new ones, so maybe one of the O-rings is blocking the hole, or maybe the needle's just the wrong size. I don't know. It was idling before with the new needles, but not very good. So one more time out with the carbs. Okay, so carbs are out. I didn't film it because you've already seen me do it a dozen times or so. Put in new idle jets, or actually I put the old idle jets back in. The new ones were a little longer and I think a different size. Cleared out all these jets, make sure everything's good, check the bowls. So I'm gonna put these back together, put them in, and hopefully we get it to start. Carbs are back in. Fuel's on and filling up the carbs, and let's see, choke's out. Let's see if we can get her started. That's promising. All right, so the bike started up just fine, but it sounded kind of funny, and when I touched the exhaust through my sweater here, this one's hot, this one's cold, so I know it's running on this cylinder, it's not running on that cylinder. I guess I'm going to check the spark, and then maybe check the fuel. Maybe the other carb isn't getting fuel for some reason. See if I can do this with one hand filming, but if I prop this up here where it's touching somewhere, touching, and fire it, let's see. Well, it starts and you can see there's spark, so maybe it's maybe this carb's not getting fuel. All right, change the filter here to a bigger one. And blew some compressed air through. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but unstuck the flow, so I'm pretty sure that was the problem. Now it seems to be running on both cylinders. So next step is to go for a little test ride. Just got back from a little test ride and she's running smoothly. I got her up to 55, 60 miles an hour and everything felt good. Don't have much fuel left in here, so didn't go too far. Now that the bike is warmed up and Layla's cooled off, time to change the oil. Hear that click? That means it's at 20 foot-pounds.